one thing I want to talk about that we need to talk more of is about the individual, the fighter, and let's ask ourselves the question, fighters, why are you not living up to your potential? Think about it like this. I remember Jordan Burroughs saying not going into MMA because he would, to some degree be moderate, maybe average, depending on all the skill sets that he had to learn. Because at the time he said it, he would have been close to 30 if he had gotten into MMA. And he said, why don't I just stay where I am and be the best wrestler on the planet? And that point was a very valid point. Sometimes you do not become who you think you should be or who you think you are at the moment because you've got your head split between too many things. I think there's a window where you can focus for very long periods of time. I think there are windows when you need to specifically focus on one particular combat sport at a time. I'm not seeing it where an athlete can be both in the NBA and the NFL at the same time. I just don't see it. And combat sports works kind of the same way. I think you can pick moments when you focus completely on, say, kickboxing and come back to MMA, or completely focus on boxing. I just don't think the overlap works in a lot of these occasions. And I'm not talking about, celebrity boxing and boxing versus MMA or anything like that. I'm just pointing out the overall performance nature, the performance structure of trying to develop your skills and get to the next level. And getting to that next level is about developing the skills for that level. And if you keep guessing at it, I think you never get there. So, let's look at that concept, that center core concept of not living up to your potential, and let's see if we can identify some of those areas that keep you from getting there, what keeps holding you back. And this kind of works for anything that has a performance aspect to it. So the first thing that you probably have to pay attention to is chronological time. You've got so much time, a very limited amount of time for that particular endeavor. That window is very small. And you want to look at your total body of work. With the time that you have, what have you done with it? If you're trying to be a recording artist, how many mixtapes, CDs, demos, self-published albums do you have? Until you make that big payday or that hit the limelight or win that Grammy or whatever it is you're trying to do, there should still be a body of work that takes you into that. So what are you doing with your time? And you want to break time out. You want to look at your frequency, your duration, and your schedules. When it comes to your schedules, especially fighters, make sure that you split this thing up based into seasons. You're not going to fight every day, so you can't be in fight mode all the time. And you know what I like to say about fighting in different pockets. You put your attention on family, close friends if they're like family, training, which means your training partners, your coaches, managers if you have them, the promotions, everything that's leading into the fight, and then work. You should not have too many more distractions. Other than that, maybe some things in there for relaxation. Maybe you like to play video games. Maybe you like to do art. I don't care what those things are, as long as they don't take over. You don't want your hobbies to take over in terms of your time. And as far as frequency goes, frequency is so important because you're going to miss days out of the fight. You're going to miss days because you have flat tire. You're not going to be there every day for whatever reason. So you want to go back into your schedules and make sure you have those missing days accounted for. There should be some weeks where you train 4 days a week, but the hours increase. There should be some days where you train 6 days a week and the hours are even across the board. You want to make sure that you have all the, you want to have the possibility of training as much as you can for the fight. And duration. Duration is not just clocking in at 6 and leaving at 8. That's not what I mean. What I mean here is, are you fully engaged in the training time that you do have? If you have an hour, 45 minutes of that should be almost devoted to the training time. And I'm going to say 55 because I'm a minus 5 minutes for lag and 10 minutes for your warm-up. But that other 45 minutes really needs to be engaged for fighting, for combat training, dealing with your opponent, strategy. Stay fully engaged as much as possible. That's where I see a lot of guys, they'll have a lot of training days in, but they're not mentally focused. They're not engaged in the training. So if you're training yourself not to engage or disengage, what do you think is going to happen in the fight? You're going to disengage.